Today, we will go to Mandelieu-la-Napoule, former stronghold of the Counts of Villeneuve and medieval fortress. And the fame of this castle begins with a love story. The meeting of Henry and Marie Clouse, who bought and restored the ruins of the Napoule castle in 1918. Once we arrived, we headed to the beach of Laraguette and walked to the castle. On our way, we discovered the Villa Marguerite, a Belle Époque villa and former residence of the Princess of Pless, which is part of the castle estate and hosts the foundation's resident artist. Since 1947, the Castle of Napoule facade and gardens are listed in the Supplementary Inventory of Historical Monuments. For 20 years, the Clouse restored the castle in a personal neo-medieval style, mixing architectural references with their own sources of inspiration. The castle houses 4 gardens: the main garden and 3 other small gardens: the Garden of La Mancha, the Terraces on the Sea, and the Secret Garden. The first garden opens with a large French alley. There are many small hidden places invisible from the walkway, which can only be discovered by a random walk. The garden harmoniously blends design and built spaces with a jumble of greenery and large century-old trees. On both sides of this central axis, beyond the hedges that border it, we discover small green rooms, basins, panoramas where the eye can escape toward the sea. The general design reveals a great freedom and the strange assortments characteristic of the art of Henry and Marie Clouse. At the time, various species of birds, such as peacocks, flamingos, and waders, roamed freely in these gardens. In 1933, Marie Clouse designed, built, and donated the seaside to the fishermen of La Napoule. Until then, they had no protected place to store their nets or tie up their boats. Mary did this as an expression of her gratitude to these hard-working men. Many years earlier, local fishermen saved the life of her young son Mancha when an unexpected storm overpowered him and blew his tiny rowboat out to sea. When the park was originally built, it stood on jagged rocks, where bathers now sunbathe on a sandy beach. The view was also different. The port did not exist, only an expanse of craggy shore. The Secret Garden, where Marie Clouse used to go to rest regularly, is a small corner garden bordered by walls whose windows give a glimpse of the sea. In the center, a monolithic Venetian well gives rhythm to the arrangement of hedges and borders. Elsie Wellen was the daughter of a music-loving banker who founded the Philadelphia Philharmonic Orchestra. She was considered in the city as the prettiest young debutante. This accomplished musician made a stay in Germany where she discovered the neo-Gothic style. Her first husband took her on a honeymoon to China and Japan. She married second time Henry Clouse, seduced by his eccentric character. They will have a son named Mancha. Henry Clouse is more interested in art than in the family world of high finance. He is a young New York billionaire who discovers a vocation for sculpture. Misunderstood in the United States, and after the failure of his first marriage, he moved to Paris at the beginning of the century. Encouraged by his exchanges with Rodin, he sketched the portrait of his contemporaries with a realism bordering on caricature, giving free rein to his whimsical spirit. The terraces overlooking the sea offer a unique panorama on the Bay of Cannes and preserved coast of Mandelieu and Théoule-sur-Mer. At the end of the terraces, we can see the garden of La Mancha. The mausoleum of the Clues is placed under the tower. We are now heading back to the main courtyard. The facade of the castle in the courtyard alternates red and green stones of the Esterel. The central courtyard looks like a cloister gallery. The columns are part of Henry's bestiary. Mary was responsible for the design of the gardens and Henry for all the decorative elements. This is how he created sculptures of fantastic animals and wacky characters. Was an unconditional fan of Don Quixote, and that's why they named their son Mancha. The statue of the entrance of the building is a statue of Henry Clues, where he represented himself as an elderly Don Quixote with a crown of birds on his head, symbol of his creative freedom, and a rose in his hand, symbol of his love for Mary. The building is named by the Clues once upon a time, and the name gives the impression of a fairy tale. The interior of the castle can only be visited with a guide. The strange creatures of Henry can be found inside. The atmosphere of the Belle Époque and the genius of the extraordinary couple are in every corner of the castle. The Clues couple plunge into the past to the point of wearing medieval costumes by conviction or by play during their sumptuous receptions for prestigious guests from high society. They lived according to the traditions of the past time in the framework they had built. Sometimes they even invited the villagers. The Clues were great benefactors of the community. When they first bought the estate, they donated the chapel located on the eastern wall to the town. Later, they established a public cemetery on the edge of Mont Saint-Père, which they also owned. The townspeople had great respect for Henry and Mary Clues. They admired their willingness to work hard and their generosity to the community. When Henry died in 1937, the entire town turned out to be part of his funeral procession and to express their sympathy and love for Mary. Thus, the history of the village of La Napoule is inseparable from the castle and its benefactors. We finish the visit of the castle and discover a bar beach which gets our attention. Direct view on the sea and swings as chairs. Nothing more needed to make us stop there for a while. After this break with a splendid view of the sea, we continue our way and go along the castle of Naples along the sea. We now leave Mandelieu-la-Napoule to go to Théoule-sur-Mer, located 10 kilometers away. Well known to hikers, Our Lady of Africa is a place of pilgrimage for the French repatriated from Algeria. Erected in 1990, this monumental statue of 12 meters high is the work of an artist from the French Riviera, Fortune Evangelista, a reinvented replica of the famous Black Virgin of the Basilica of Our Lady of Algiers. This statue required 24 years of work before its inauguration in 2014. It weighs 30 tons and is located between the Rock of Monge and the sea. It's a stopover that walkers and pilgrims can't miss on their way to Compostela. The hike lasts about 1 hour 30 and takes you through the Estoril Massif, bordered by the Mediterranean Sea, through a pleasant path. Very easy, this family walk can also be done by bike. And with this last visit, we end our day. See you tomorrow.